Okay, so in this video we're going to be working on the track pattern, or the track model of the of this model view controller pattern. And so to do this, I'm simply going to create a new folder which I'm going to call scripts, like this. And in this folder I'm going to go and create a new C# script, and I'm going to call it track, like this. And I'm going to start editing the this track, like that. And so what I'm going to start with, I'm actually just going to get rid of all this, and I'm going to put this all in a namespace. I kind of like to do this. It makes it easier later to handle the project. And so with this here, I'm just going to keep the track to be a mono behavior for now. We can think of it as being a track player somehow. And I'm just going to think of what is the data like. So the model in a model view controller is very important because it's the data that we use to display the view, but it's also the data that we use in the controller to control the gameplay. And so it's very it's the very root of a model view controller. And so what I'm going to start asking here is, what is a track? What are the informations that we want to have in a track? So very obviously we could start thinking of, well, it's got a title, and it's got an author name, and it's got a description, it's got an album name, and so on. And so this is all pretty obvious, and I'm just not going to put them in here, but we will probably do this in a later chapter to start displaying collections of tracks and letting the player to choose between several tracks. But there, what I really want to focus on is, what is this track going to do in my controller? It's going to tell my track view what is the information to display, and it's going to tell my game controller how to use this information. And so basically it's going to be a list of information, because it's simply going to be an information that says every beat we want to take an input, and we want to display an input, and we want to take an input and make sure that the player has played that input. So I'm just going to represent it as a list of integers. I could create some smarter data as to what is a beat. Maybe it's got an input and a time and so on, but this is something that we're just going to get into later, I guess. But for now, I'm just going to make it very simple. It's going to be a list of integers. And so if it's 0, then it's going to be left. It means that we expect the left input. If it's 1, then it's probably down, and if it's 2, it's up, and if it's 3, it's right. And I'm also going to use a default value of -1 to represent an empty beat, so a beat that we just don't want to play. And so for this, I'm just going to say that I want to create this, a public list of integers that I'm calling beats, and that's it. And so whenever I get back in here, I'm now going to create a new game object in here so that we can have a look at how the data is represented. And I'm going to call this track player, like this. And I'm going to add a component track. And what we can see here is that this is already serializable. So I can just say that I want to have 3, and then the 1 is not to be played, and the second is to play the left input, and the next one is to play the down input, for example. And this is the data structure. This is what we want to handle as a data structure. And there's also a very important information is for the game controller is the beat per minute, because it's going to tell the gameplay what is the bit per minute, what is the speed of this track. And this is another information that I want to add in here, and I'm going to put it above so that we if we have like a very long track, we don't want to find this information all the way to the bottom. So I'm going to say public integer BPM equals, and I'm going to give it a default value of 120, like this. And so whenever I get back in here, then I get the BPM information here. So this is it. And what we see here is that in this track component here, we have all the data, and we could start adding all the mechanics. If we were in a component based architecture, we would start adding all the mechanics that will display the track view, and then we would also add all the gameplay mechanics. But because we want to separate the data from the view and the controller, one of the issues that we have here is that we do not want to have a game object for every track that we want to be able to play. And so we don't want this script here to reference a mono behavior. And this is what we're going to be doing in the next video. We're going to change this track into a data model instead of being a mono behavior.